How'd you like that, Dr. Gupta?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, there was like a Jeopardy theme leading up to it. So my heart started kind of pounding. And then all of a sudden, I'll be honest with you, then all of a sudden there was like this FOMO of like, let's get the conference started.
I
Let's
know
go.
that. There's a lot of footage from the conference. I'm like, oh man, every time.
I know.
So, well, awesome to have you here. Those who are jumping in, hello. It is, what day is it? It's Tuesday. I just got off I went right from our mastermind, which we have 2 masterminds every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and then 7 p.m. We had a crew in there at 7 p.m. one. It was awesome. A lot of new faces. So I'm like coming off like a high from that. I had to leave a little early to get here to make sure we get set up and stuff, but I can think of a lot worse things to have to leave for. So super excited to be jumping in with you and chatting. If you're joining us, say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're at, where you're watching from. I see Ray's here. Hi, Ray.
Of course.
She loves the energy. Apparently we have energy already, so that's good. Nikki, good to see you. Neil, you just got done with a soccer game, right? So you just got back to the house. So I'm coming from the mastermind. You're coming from here. We're like, boom. But here we are. So how you feeling right now?
I'm good. This is a highlight to cap my night after a long day of work, and like I said, running around to go be a dad and cheer on my son for some soccer. It was one of those where, hey, I got to run back and get to hang out with Jeff Gargas for a little while. So that's pretty good.
I just want to make sure that Ray heard highlight. Anyway, so. I'm excited to have you on.
On the way here, Ray and I were voxing back and forth.
Oh, come on, you couldn't let me just have that. You couldn't just like let a brother have that for a second. Come on, man. So, I want to talk about, you're one of the awesome speakers that we have on our Mindset Meetups webinar series that's coming up. It starts on the 30th, and you're actually helping us kick it off, you and Ray, on the very first night. So no pressure. So I want to dive into sort of what you're going to be talking about, give a little preview, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about some of the awesome other folks that are presenting and stuff like that. But before we get into like that, for anybody who's chiming in and checking us out, whether they're watching live right now or they're going to be watching later on the replay, can you share just a little bit about yourself? Let us know where you're at, what your own education is, your favorite bourbon, because we're bourbon guys. But just let everybody know, what do you do, Neil, man? What's up?
Yeah. So I am Worthington Schools in Ohio, at the suburb of Columbus, Ohio, and so kind of raised in Ohio most of my life, and started out in a rural district. I know, right? So smack dab right there. So right there, I've been pressuring Ray to come check out Columbus. I don't know.
I love Columbus. Columbus is awesome. Well, Worthington, where your that whole area is.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So I started in a rural district in Ashland, about an hour up north of Columbus, and so I that's where I was raised and went to high school there. Went back after college and became a math teacher there. Went to central office and was a secondary curriculum director before coming down to Columbus to New Albany schools. I was a K-12 curriculum director. I was director of assessments, and then I'm now currently in Worthington, so overseeing our middle schools and high school programs there. So that's my day job, and then also able on the side to get to work with Teach Better team. I'm on the board with ASCD. And so that's been a passion for me. I remember back when I was first teaching, I remember getting my first Ed Leadership magazine and said, someday I'm going to be able to go to these conferences and I'm going to get to meet people. And now I'm just ecstatic to be able to connect with amazing educators from really around the world. And things like this have been able to make the world shrink it a little bit and help just be a place to get energy and education and inspiration, all of it in one. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
I love it. Well, shout out. I gotta give a shout out and props where props are due to Ray, because Ray is who connected us. And I feel so blessed to have you in my life and to be connected with you. I know I can always pop a Voxer and he's going to have a conversation. It's going to be a good one, honest one, but also positive and full of energy. So, and we share a sort of a common or a shared affection for bourbon. So there's nothing wrong with that either. So anyway, it's so good
not
to see
at all. Not at all.
Lindsay, good to see you here as well. I see more people watching than are commenting, and I don't like that. So make sure you're hitting the hearts and saying hello to Neil in here.
So let me. Can I talk about Lindsay real quick?
Okay.
I have
rule number one for Teach Better team is you can always talk about Lindsay. So it's just you're always allowed to.
So, and this goes back to like many of the people on the Teach Better team. And, but I'm sitting there and I'm going through Facebook, and I don't know why I'm friends with Lindsay on Facebook, and I am watching post after post, and I'm like, she is just on fire. She's nailing it. Like her posts are crisp. And every time I read something that she posts, I'm like, it's filling me up, and I'm like ready to go back to work the next day and share it with everybody. And finally, I'm at that point where how do I know who this Lindsay is? Like, what's the connection? Why would I ever have found somebody like her? Like, this is amazing. And I go and I'm going, oh, she's friends with Ray. She's friends with Jeff. And then lo and behold, she's also part of the Teach Better connection. And it was one of those where I don't doubt that you and Chad and Ray would have somehow put together the all-star team, which includes Lindsay. So that's amazing.
She is awesome. I want to say, jumping in there, Trey Gammon's jumping in saying hello. What's up, Trey? Good to see you jumping in there. Chad's here with us. He says, love Neil Gupta. Of course you do. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Vern is here. Good to see you all. I love it. People jumping in. See, I call everyone out because I can see how many people are watching.
Right. Like, yeah, don't see
across. So when you're watching, you see like who are watching on the platform that you're on. I can see like how many people are on everywhere. So like I know we got people on Twitter, we got people on Facebook in the group, we have people on YouTube watching stuff. So like some people just aren't saying hi right now. Anyway, so the reason we're live tonight to talk about is something we have coming up. It's called the Mindset Meetup webinar series. So that's happening September 30th. It kicks off and it's going 6 Wednesdays in a row. It's going to be at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And we have 2 speakers each night delivering about 45, 50 an hour, basically an hour amount of just awesomeness, basically a whole wide variety of topics and ideas and stuff that you can be able to take away. There's also a lot of, just going to have an opportunity to connect with people that are there and build your network and stuff too. So we want to kind of come and just sort of give you a shout out to highlight you again, because we're so pumped anytime you're able to be a part of something that we're doing and stuff. But also want to just maybe give a little sneak peek into what you're going to be sharing, what you're going to be talking about. So people make sure that they show up on the first Wednesday, because we got you and Ray kicking it off. I wanted to have Ray come on, but Ray doesn't know what she's talking about. So like, I couldn't. I'm like, Ray, you got to preview what she's doing. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. I'll tell you what to do later. So I'm trying to figure out whether she's still watching or not. We'll see if she chimes in.
We'll find out. We'll find out soon.
So you're on Wednesday. So it's kind of a 2-part question for you. 1, give us an idea of what it is that you're going to be sharing, and 2, give us an idea how it feels to know that you're kicking things off with Ray Hewart.
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to take the second one first, because that's what's given me like a little bit of heart palpitations, where I'm excited to do the kickoff. Like there is no doubt about it. I'm seeing just everybody that is going to be part of the Mindset Meetup. At the same time, I've got the excitement's there, and then the nervousness of like, oh my gosh, like, Ray's going to be on there. And you worry a little bit at first about like, oh my gosh, are there like breakout sessions and you've got to choose me or Ray? And the nice thing is no. Luckily, you get to go. I think Ray's first up, and then it goes to me. So she's kind of the true warm up. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be amazing. That has already got me excited about it. The graphics are pretty cool, and I know the energy is just going to be lifted. She's going to set the bar up, and I'm going to try to do what I can to give honor to those that come after that. But my heart, when I was thinking about the topic, because there's so many things I want to share, and they're timely. Something I keep coming back to, and this was part of my leadership journey. And I would say I learned it in my administrative experiences, but I wish I could go back to the classroom and try this as a teacher also. So this concept that I'm going to talk about, is regardless of title and years of experience. But I want to talk about design thinking principles. They're birthed out of the entrepreneurial business world, and I think that it has most appropriateness probably now more than ever when we think about COVID and we talk about how do we do things that we've never done before. And these design thinking principles really help shape my leadership journey. And as I take a look at how I'm going to attack and address and take care of something that might come up, I want to go back to these principles. And I know if I'm a classroom teacher, I don't care what subject area I'm teaching, and I don't care what grade level I'm teaching. I want to infuse these concepts into my classroom. I think kindergartners can and should have these concepts, and students that are getting ready to go off to college, military, workforce, whatever, seniors, they need to be able to have these things also. So that's a passion for me, and it's something I want to share with everyone else.
I love it. Are you able to give us like the summary of some of those skills, the design thinking process or skill, without going too deep? Are you able? I'm working you.
Yes, I can.
Just a little, just whet the appetite a little bit more. What we can expect. So we want to dive in there when we show up.
Yeah. So IDEO is one of the companies that's out in California that is kind of uses this prototyping concept into how they do things. So companies probably, or I guess people don't really know what IDEO is. They don't buy anything from IDEO, but really what IDEO does is whenever, let's say, Nike or Oakley can't think of what's the next innovation that needs to happen, they go to IDEO and say, hey, take the sunglass that has been around for a long time and make it better. Do something better with it. Or take the shoe that we've always worn, and how do you improve upon a shoe? You give it to this company and they figure out how to make it better. And the crux of this is this design thinking approach is it's a human-centered approach, and really it starts and it's grounded in this empathy sense. So design thinking is really about thinking about the end user. In a nutshell, I tend to think about things usually when I'm sitting in my central office, place right there, and I think about things that might make it easy for me, or things that I think are going to help certain people. But really, when we get out of our offices and we go onto the street and we go into the classrooms, when we talk to parents, we talk to students, we talk to staff members, we talk to secretaries and custodians, and we talk to bus drivers, all of a sudden we get a better complexion, a better realistic view of what's needed, and then that helps make my job easier, and I would say more effective in trying to help others. And so empathy is a core to it. And then there's design thinking principles that go along with it that I'll be sharing.
I love it. So I'm going to throw this up real quick. If you're not already registered, you go to teachbetter.com/mindset meetup. Use the discount code. I set this up special just for you. Gupta 2020, 50% off. By the way, that gets you like all 6 weeks. So it's 12 different speakers, get you recordings for life as well. So make sure you do that and come hang out with Neil and Ray Hewer and CJ Reynolds and Trey Gamage and Dr. Valerie Camille Jones and Rochelle Dene Poth, whose birthday it is today, I believe.
Oh my goodness.
Kevin Butler, Caitlin Giordano, Michael Jennings, P. Sloan Joseph, Allison Absey, Tracy Broder. I mean, it's just an awesome crew. I just like trick everyone into thinking that I can help on the back end. So then I just get to be there for all of it. That's what I do. So I'm excited about it. Super fun. I love anytime we get to work with you. So I'm going to keep you for just a little bit longer here because now I'm just having fun, curiosity. Let's get to know Neil a little bit more. So I mentioned the bourbon thing. During our meetup masterminds today, we were talking about, we do a lot of, Dave does such an awesome job of asking these little questions that seem simple and almost, I don't want to say irrelevant, but like just simple, that are really cool connection pieces. So like today we talked about like, what's your favorite type of music? What do you listen to? Where do you go to? So I want to throw that at you because I'm curious, because I'm like, I don't know that about Neil. So what is your, if I had to ask you like your favorite all-time band or artist?
Yeah.
Who is it?
So it's so funny. I still go back to like the 90s grunge, in the car. Like when you say that, I go back to what was I just listening to before I got in the house. And so it's funny because I don't even know who the popular musicians are today. Like if you said their name and if I heard their music, I probably wouldn't know. But it's funny because my boys, when they're in the car, they're starting to know like Nirvana, and they're starting to know like the different kind of grunge bands, and it just makes me proud at times when they're starting to sing along to it. And I go, wait a minute, how did you know that song? Like, they're like, Dad, from you. So yeah, I'm stuck in the early 90s, I think.
Early 90s. So is Nirvana like the top of that? Is it like Nirvana?
It just depends. So like Jesus Jones.
Yeah.
Go back to that kind of stuff. A lot, and there's like that techno kind of stuff that goes along with it. I mean, I can always go U2 when I'm cooking. So I love to cook. There's something about me, and yep. I'm always like, hey, I got to watch it. Like Alexa, she's gonna wonder what's going on now.
we did a podcast a couple weeks ago with the guest is Alexis, and every time I said she didn't come on now, every time I said her name, I had to turn it. I had to unplug because I'm like, stop it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's hilarious. So that's awesome. I did not peg you for 90s grunge guys.
Oh, my goodness.
You're learning. I love this type of stuff. Nikki says 80s all the way.
Nikki, you're right.
What 80s, Nikki? There's a lot of 80s. So like I'm a big fan of 80s, like big hair metal bands. Like, they honestly, a lot of the big hair metals weren't even necessarily metal, but like the big hair, like glam rock metal, like Bon Jovi's my all-time favorite. Just is. And they were on much more the more pop side of that, but then like the Crew and guys like that. So like, it's I'm thinking back at all the times I've seen Motley Crue like 8 times and
there you go.
Live, and I'm thinking back all that craziness. But that was cool. Someone's jumping in fresh. Who's jumping in fresh? Your name's not showing.
Fresh.
Who's here? It's just fresh from the mastermind. So welcome. I'm glad you could jump in.
Was Megan Anderson? I'm calling her out. Did she attend the mastermind?
She jumped in right before I jumped out. She jumped in. So yes, she was there.
All right.
And so there's the man right now, the mastermind man right there, the mastermind behind the mastermind, Dave Schmidt.
Absolutely.
Who's probably listening to some Tim McGraw right now. So not in 90s grunge.
No.
Megan was there, confirmed. She's
good.
All
right.
So we're okay.
We got everybody tracking her.
It's good.
That's good.
So
it takes a village to raise Megan. Is kind of where we're going.
All right, so I didn't want to keep you all night. I know you just got back from a game. You got to spend some time with your family and stuff, and everyone else has had to get ready to go. I want to take just like 3 more minutes of your time, and we did a little bit of get to know you. I like that. That was awesome. Now I want to do a pull-in from the awesomeness that is Dr. Neil Gupta. Anyone who's watching right now, educator of any grade level, any role in education, if they were sitting across from you having some bourbon and they're like, Neil, I need some advice. And you were like, what kind of advice do you need, Jeff? And I said, I don't know. I just need advice. Give me any advice right now as an educator and go. And I'm going to sip my bourbon and you're going to give me advice. What would you say?
So, here's the advice that I found out. And I think Brienne is watching right too. So good. Brienne is from Ashland. So we got another Ashlandite on here. She's doing amazing things. That is awesome. Brandon, you just now that's not my quote, the be curious, not furious. I don't want to get in trouble because somebody else invented that, but that has been something I've been kind of saying for the past month, because I think that there's been a lot of people jumping to conclusions at times with, gosh, why aren't our students doing something, or why aren't the families doing something? And, it's one of those, before we go into what we think, and that's part of design thinking, right? Before we go into kind of like what we think is there, pause and step back and be curious, be that detective to kind of go, well, I wonder what that is, and be open-ended versus like, gosh, it's because kids are lazy, or it's because they're just not paying attention, or because whatever. Like, there's some real things going on with kids. But that kind of goes with, I think, the advice piece, that is, everything's about relationships. Every opportunity that I have, if it's somebody I'm picking up the phone and they have a question or an issue, and I could say what's your job at that moment? And I'm realizing my job at that moment is not to answer their question. My job at that moment is not to fix something. My job is not to try to help take care of that for them. It is to build a relationship, and so that they walk away not just with their question answered, but it's really to give them hope, to give them peace, to give them inspiration. And I think that sometimes we are getting into that habit of, I'm going to wait for you to have a question, I'm going to answer it, and then we're this dark night that kind of leaves and never see you again, and that sort of thing. And I think that that's kind of where stress comes from people. I know that when I'm getting emails, Jeff, you and I were talking about this before. I'm overseeing all this remote option that we're doing in our district. Kids and families with real health and safety needs have said, we don't know if your district's going to come back into hybrid or all in, but we got to keep our kid home, for the safety front. And so families are having questions right now, and they're having anxieties, and they're having, they're just scared. There's a lot of unknowns that are happening, and they may have a simple question of, I don't know how to log in my child. And so right there's my opportunity. that I can obviously answer their question of here's your username and password. But it's also this opportunity for me to say, hey, let me, and I found out I pick up the phone when they send an email and it's more than 3 paragraphs long. And I say, hey, let me help you walk you through this and let me see what other questions you might have. And by the way, this is some of the design thinking I'll be talking about on September 30th. But let's talk about how you're feeling right now through this. And I'm sorry that it's happening right now. And let me answer your question that you have. But let's also kind of like make sure, like, why don't you stay on the line and you go ahead and log in real quick and let me walk you through 2 or 3 steps before I hang up. Like, there's an opportunity that happens with that. And it takes longer. I'm not suggesting that, but the long run, you've just built relationship with somebody, you've hung up, and it's not about like, oh gosh, Neil's a nice guy, but it's about that they're now going to go in front of their child and say, hey, we got this, and that's kind of what we need to kind of leave everything, for as we move forward.
I love it. That was pretty stinking good for on the spot, my friend.
It's from the heart, and I
know, and that's the only way you know how, man.
No, I mean we're all stressed. I think right now. I think right now, geez, the emails aren't stopping, the work's not stopping, but it's one of those things where slow down, and you control the tempo and you control the pace. So slow down, because it's not about just shoveling and moving on to the next thing, sort of thing. Like, you've got to be able to, leave people in that lasting impression, of yourself, your district, your school, and again, that hope that things will be okay. Not just here's your answer.
Yeah, I love it. Lindsay brings up a great point. I love it. She always has these one-liners. Instead of holding a grudge with people, hold a conversation. I love it.
Great. I love it.
On that note, I think we'll go. I think that's a great way to leave it. Neil, I appreciate you. I'm going to throw it up one more time. If you're interested in coming and hanging out with the Mindset Meetup, that's 6 Wednesdays in a row, 12 different speakers, all recordings. Starts on the 30th. Gupta 2020 saves you 50%, cut it in half. So hopefully we'll see you there. Neil's kicking off on September 30th with Ray Hewart. So we'll see you there. Neil, I super always appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate everyone watching and chiming in. And Adam's jumping in last second. Adam, good to see you, brother. Glad you were able to jump in and say hi. Appreciate all of you. We will see you all. I can't remember if I'm live tomorrow or not, but I'll definitely will be here on Thursday for Master Chat. So at the very least, I'll see you there. Take care. Appreciate y'all.
All right. See you guys.